Hello, dear students. In this video, we will talk about the self and non-self. We will talk about the immune system, the function of the immune system, and what determines the self and non-self parts. And also, we will study about the different types of the grafts. Let's start. In this video, we're going to determine the function of the immune system, the self and non-self. We are going to determine the term HLA and to identify the different types of graft. So let's start with part 1, immunology, chapter 1, the immune response, first activity about the self and non-self. So let's start about humans. What do we know about humans? What is So, are we living in a safe environment? This is the big question here. Are we living in a safe environment? This condition we're living nowadays about virus, corona, and others say we're not living in this environment. So, environment is contaminated with viruses. One of them is the coronavirus, bacteria, pathogens, and many more. So, these pathogens, these bacteria, and viruses, they invade our environment. How we can survive in such an environment? So here we have to talk about the immune system. The immune system is defined as the army that protects our body against the harm around us, like the bacteria, the viruses, the parasites. So the immune system, as I said, is the army. It contains soldiers. We're going to determine these soldiers later on. So the immune system is the army that protects our body against the harm, against the bacteria, against the viruses, against the parasites. So without the immune system, we will die. So immune system is like an army in the country. For example, in Lebanon, we have the Lebanese army. It's very important. So without the Lebanese army, we're going to have a lot of problems. So here, the immune system is like the army inside our body. So it has the role of protection. So the immune system, al-mana'a in Arabic. So this is important for the protection against the bacteria, against the viruses, against the parasites. So the immune system, let's start with the role of the immune system. What is the function of the immune system? What does it do? So the role of the immune system is to defend the body against any possible invasion by the bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So coronavirus is called COVID-19. So here you have to be careful about this. We're going to have a question similar to this, COVID-19. So the role of the immune system is to defend the body against any possible invasion by bacteria, by viruses, and parasites, and many others for sure. So, what is immunity? We determined the term immune system. What is the role of the immune system? We said that the immune system is the army that protects our body against any bacteria, viruses, parasites. We said that the role of the immune system is to defend the body against the invasions of bacteria, parasites, and pathogens. So now, what is immunity? Immunity is defined as the body's ability to respond to foreign attacks. So the body's ability to respond, to react against the foreign attack. What the meaning of foreign attack? Foreign attack by foreigners that does not belong to my body, like parasites, the bacteria, and viruses. They are foreigners. They are foreign or microorganisms or organisms. Okay. What is immunology? Every word that ends with ology is the science. So immunology is the science that studies immunity. So immunology is the science that studies immunity. It studies the cells of the immune system, the organs of the immune system, and the mechanism of action, how it protects the body. So, as a revision, what is the immune system? As I said, it's the army that protects our body against invasion by the bacteria, viruses, parasites, and many others. The role of the immune system is to defend the body against any possible invasion by bacteria, viruses, parasites, and others. As such, what is immunity? Immunity is the ability of the body to respond or to react against any attacks by foreigners like the parasites, bacteria, and the pathogens. What is immunology? Immunology is the science that studies the immunity. It studies the immune system, its cells, organs, and the mechanism of action, how it protects the body. So we said that the immune system is the army that protects our body. So let's talk about this. Is this army made up of only one single unit, one type? So here in the army we have the naval forces, terrestrial or those on land, and we have the air forces. We have the air, the land, and the sea. So we have different types of forces. So the army is composed of different units, not from single unit. So here we have something called lymphocytes. We have monocytes. We have neutrophils and others. We are going to define them and to identify these different types. So we have cells, we have tissues, and then we have organs. Here we have the Lebanese army and the Israeli army. The Lebanese army will attack the Israeli army because the Israeli army doesn't belong to Lebanon. It's a foreign. It doesn't belong to our country, which is the Lebanese one. While we have the Lebanese army, and here we have Lebanese citizens. Will the Lebanese army attack these Lebanese citizens? No. Why? Because they belong to our country. So they are not foreigners. We can say that they are self. They belong to our body, to our country. So here we have the French army and the French president. Here the French president is not going to be attacked by the French army because they belong to the same country, which is France. And the Lebanese army sure will attack the French army if they invade our country because they are non-self. They are foreigners. They don't belong to our body. So what determines whom the army should attack? Let's see. Here we have Ali. Would Ali's immune system attack Ali's lungs? Why and why not? These are the lungs of Ali. Would the immune system of Ali attack the lungs of Ali? No. Why? Because these lungs, they belong to the body of Ali. So they are classified as a word is called self. So they belong to Ali's body. We have Ali, and also we have Ahmad. Ali and Ahmad. Ahmad needs a lung. So he wants to get a lung from where? From Ali. Would Ali donate his lung to Ahmad? Ali and Ahmad, they are different persons, different individuals. So this will cause the immune system to attack the lung of Ali because lung of Ali doesn't belong to the body of Ahmad. So here, immune system defends, attacks citizens, foreigners. So as a conclusion, the immune system will defend or it will attack the citizens or the foreigners. So to start with, it defends that belong to my body. So my immune system defend my organs, my cells, my tissues. So the immune system will defend. We have two verbs, defend, attack. Okay? Defend or attack. So the immune system will defend the citizens, meaning that belong to my body, or the foreigners that are different from my body. Sure, the immune system will defend my citizens, my organs, my tissues. So defend is going to be for the citizens. So the immune system will defend the citizens and it will attack the foreigners. So the foreigners will be attacked by the immune system. The immune system will attack any non-self. So as a conclusion here, we have to say that the immune system defends its own citizens while it attacks any foreigners. So here is the conclusion, the first conclusion, and the very important conclusion here, that the immune system defends its own citizens, meaning that the immune system defends its organs, defends my tissue, my organs, my cells, while it will attack any foreigners. In the example, it will attack Ali's lung, because Ali's lung is a foreigner with respect to Ahmad's body, so it's classified as a foreigner. So here, citizens, we're going to call them as self. Self, they belong to my body, to myself, while foreigners, they are classified as non-self. They don't belong to myself. They don't belong to my body. So here, self and non-self. What is the difference between these two? Self and non-self. The big question here is self. What's the meaning of self? It's all that belongs to one's body. Everything that belongs to my body. For example, my hand, my eye, my nose, my blood, for example, my cells, my hair, all of them, my stomach, my pancreas, my kidney, all of them, they belong to my body. So we call they are self. While, let's move to the non-self. What the meaning of non-self? Non-self, all that doesn't belong to one's body. All that doesn't belong to my body. For example, your kidney is a non-self with respect to me. Your hand is a non-self with respect to me. So my body will attack it. Like the case of Ali and Ahmad. So donation of kidney, this will be classified as a non-self, so it doesn't belong to one's body. So here, the big question, which would the immune system attack? Will the immune system attack the self or the non-self? Would the immune system attack my body, my organs, my cells, my tissues, or the immune system will attack the non-self, the foreigners that doesn't belong to my body? So here, the answer for this question, will the immune system attack the self or the non-self? For sure, it will attack the non-self. So the non-self will be attacked by the immune system. So the immune system will attack the non-self to kill them. For example, any microbe or any bacteria or any virus that enters inside my body the immune system will attack it to kill it and to get rid from this. That's why they attack the non-self. So here we're going to talk about Frege's model for self and non-self. But before thinking about this, how does the immune system distinguish the self from the non-self? How can the immune system will attack the non-self and will protect the self? How would the immune system distinguish between these two? How would the immune system know that this belongs to my body and this does not belong to my body? What is the criteria? Let's move now to something HLA. HLA, the definition, it's called the human leukocyte antigen. H for human, L for leukocyte, and A for antigen. So human leukocyte antigen, where it's found? It's found on the surface of nucleated cells. What's the meaning of nucleated cells? Nucleated cells mean that they have nucleus. So what is HLA? HLA is the human leukocyte antigen. It's found on the surface of nucleated cells. It's found on the membrane of nucleated cells. What is the role of HLA? Why do we have to have HLA? HLA is the biological identity marker that helps the immune system to distinguish self from non-self. Let's say, for example, we have football club. Let's say we have Real Madrid and Barcelona. Okay, so Real Madrid and Barcelona, both of them, they have different logos. This is the logo for Real Madrid and this is the logo for Barcelona. So these two logos, they are different. How can we determine that this player belongs to Real Madrid on the field? By having the logo of Real Madrid and having the shirt of Real Madrid. So having the logo of Real Madrid, you can know that this player belongs to Real Madrid. Having the logo of Barcelona, you know that this player belongs to Barcelona. So HLA, it's like the logo. For example, having the logo on your shirt for ISI, you know that the student belongs to the International School of Innovation. So by this way, we can determine the student belongs to the ISI. Here, biological identity marker, this will help the immune system to distinguish the self from non-self. If this cell have the HLA, so it belongs to my body. So it's a self. So the immune system won't attack it. It will be safe. So the immune system depends on the HLA. So HLA is the biological identity marker that helps the immune system to distinguish the self from non-self. So if we have the HLA on the cell, meaning that it has the logo, it have the marker, it have the identity marker, okay? So this cell belongs to my body. Another example, you have the Lebanese ID, okay? So wherever you pass, you have this ID, meaning that you are Lebanese, so you can pass. If you don't have your ID, meaning that you are not Lebanese, you can't pass. So this one is called an example about the biological identity marker. So the biological identity marker, it helps the immune system to distinguish the self or non-self. If you have the HLA, meaning that we have the self cells. If they don't have the HLA, they are non-self. So, third note, the cells of the same body and those of identical twins. They have the same HLA. So for example, my heart, my kidney, my liver, my stomach, for example, my eyes, my skin, and others, they belong to my body. So they are the cells of the same body. So they have same HLA. Also, identical twins, meaning that identical twins, they look like each other. Okay, so identical twins, they have also the same HLA, while the cells of different persons, for example, the cells of Hassan and Ali, they don't belong to each other. They are, for example, friends only in the class, so they have different HLA. So as a revision, what is HLA? It's a human leukocyte antigen. It's found on the surface of the nucleated cells. It's the biological identity marker. It's the marker, and it's specific for the biological identity marker that helps the immune system to distinguish the self from non-self. So if it's self, it should have the same HLA. If it's not self, it should have different HLA. Move now. Some notes about the HLA. Each person has a specific HLA, on the surface of nucleated cells, the cells that have nucleus. But wait a moment, we have special types of cells. They don't have nucleus inside our body. What do we call them? They are the red blood cells. The RBCs, red blood cells, they don't have nucleus, so they don't have HLA. That's why we can donate blood for any person. So we don't have HLA. So the immune system will not attack these red blood cells and will not consider them as non-self. Why? Because they are anucleated or anucleated, meaning that they don't have nucleus. So red blood cells, pay attention to this note, it's very important. Red blood cells, they don't have a nucleus, so they don't have HLA, because we said that HLA is found on the surface of nucleated cells. Also, identical twins, as I said before, they have identical HLA on their nucleated cells. So now, let's develop Freir's model for self and non-self using the HLA. Now, this is the complex definition for the self. Here, Freir's model, here we have the term in the middle, here we have the definition, here an example, here a non-example about them. Okay, so let's start first with the term self. What the meaning of self? We said before that self is all that belongs to one's body, like my hand, my kidney, my stomach, and others. Here we added a few terms or few words and has the same HLA. So whenever you ask about the term of the self, you have to say that all that belongs to one's body and they have the same HLA. Without same HLA, meaning that you don't know the definition of self. So self, all that belongs to one's body and they have the same HLA. Self, example, my hand, my kidney, my liver, my pancreas, my eye, my nose, and others. They are called self. Here another example, my friend's hand. My friend's hand is not self. It belongs to others' body. It's called non-self. So as revision, what is the self? Self is all that belongs to one's body and has the same HLA. Example, my hand, my liver, my pancreas, my kidney, my stomach, my eye. Non-example, my friend's hand, my friend's kidney, my friend's nose. All of them, they are non-examples. Okay, let's move now to the definition of the non-self. So the non-self. What is the non-self? Definition. The non-self, all that does not belong to one's body. And here we have additional information here, and they have different HLA. So what the difference between self and non-self? We said that the self is all that belongs to one's body and they have the same HLA. While the non-self, all that does not belong to one's body and they have different HLA. Example about the non-self, my friend's hand, my friend's kidney, my friend's lung. Non-example, my hand. This is my hand. Example about the self. So here we have the definition of the self and non-self. You have to know them. Self, all that belongs to one's body and they have the same HLA. Non-self, all that does not belong to one's body and they have different HLA. Now let's move to an idea about grafting. What is a graft? A graft is a transplant of a tissue or an organ from one side to another in the same body or from one body to another. It's moving from an organ. You know that some people, they can donate a kidney, for example, or they can donate a lung, or they can donate, for example, let's say an eye. So this is called grafting. So grafting is a transplant of a tissue or an organ from one side to another. For example, some people, they have, for example, problems in their face. They have, for example, burned their face, for example, by fire or something. So they have damaged skin cells. So they can take skin cells from the thigh, from the leg, and they can transplant it into their face to have the recovery for the skin. So this is from one side to another in the same body. Or, for example, we can transplant an organ from one body to another. For example, I can donate a kidney for my sister, or I can donate a liver, for example, or I can donate, let's say, a lung to my brother, let's say. So this is from one body to another. Here we have different types of grafts. Let's start with the first type. First type is called autograft. Auto, definition, is the graft that is transferred from one side to another in the same body. So it's transferred, the graft is transferred, or the transplant is transferred from one side, from one position to another position in the same body. Example about this, from my hand to my thigh. Either from my hand to my leg, or from my thigh to my face, let's say. This is an example. Non-example, from my hand to my friend's hand. This is a non-example. Okay? Another type of graft is called isograft. Isograft is done between a person and the identical twin. So always identical, iso. So identical twin, isograft. Identical twin, isograft. Here, Samir's kidney transferred to his identical twin. Maybe it's called Fadi, for example. So isograft is the graft that is done between two identical twin. This is an example. Non-example, Samir's kidney transferred to his sister twin. Sister twin, pay attention. Sister twin is not an identical twin. So pay attention to this. They should be, both of them should be males, or both of them should be females, in order to say that they are identical. So identical twin, the graft that's done between two identical twins is called isograft. So till now we have two different types of graft. The first graft is called autograft. The graft is transferred from one side of the body to another side in the same body. And we have the second type, isograft, the graft that is transferred from one person to the identical twin. That's why I identical, I iso. So I identical, I iso. So you can easily detect this. Let's move now to the third type of graft, allograft. This graft, allograft, is done between one person and another in the same species, and they belong to the same species. For example, from Hassan to Maya, from Ali to Rewa, from Celine to Sabine, from Sabine to Zahra. So all of them, they belong to the same species. Okay? Here, for example, the graft is transferred from one person to another in the same species. Okay? So this is called allograft. Here, example about this: from Maya to Rola, from Hassan to Hassan, from Karim to Hadi, from Hadi to Rida, from Rida to Abbas, from Celine to, let's say, to Fatima. All of them, they belong to the same species. While an example, from a cat to a dog, cat and dog, they belong to different species. So it's not an example about allograft. The last type of graft is called xenograft. Xenograft is the graft that's done between two different individuals that belong to different species. For example, from a cat to a dog, from a dog to a horse, from a horse to, for example, let's say zebra, from zebra to lion. Okay, so they belong to different species. From, for example, from a human to a dog, let's say, or from a dog to a human, they belong to different species. So this is an example. From a cat to a dog, cat and dog, they belong to different species. Cat and, for example, a hen, let's say. So they are different species. So here we have four types of graft. Autograft, within the same body. Auto, within the same body. Iso, I, identical. Allo, different individuals in the same species, from a human to a human, from a cat to a cat, from a dog to a dog, from, for example, a horse to another horse. They belong to the same species. While xenograft, they belong to different species, from a cat to a dog, from a dog to a hen, let's say, from a dog to a human. So they belong to different species. So what affects the fate of the graft? What affects the result of the graft? Fate is the final result. What will happen to the graft? What affects the result? So the fate of the graft, whether it's success or failure, it depends on the similarity of HLA. This is the most important note. So the graft is accepted or rejected depending on the similarity, of the HLA. If they have similar HLA, so the graft is accepted. If they have different HLA, so the graft is rejected. So the graft rejection or acceptance depends on the similarity of HLA. As the similarity of HLA increases, the percentage of success will increase. This is done between a donor and the recipient. What the meaning of a donor? Is the one that donates. So let's say, for example, I want to donate a kidney to Mr. Ali. So who the person will donate? I am the one who's going to donate. So I am the donor. Mr. Ali will receive this kidney. So we call Mr. Ali the recipient. So the donor is the one that donates. Here is the animal, mostly is done on animals. So you can say the one that donates is called the donor, meaning donate, it means gives, and the one that receives is called the recipient, the one that takes. So here, recipient and donor. So the fate of the graft, I repeat it, depends on the similarity of HLA between the donor and the recipient. Okay, hope this video will help you to understand every single note about what is immunology, what is immunity, what is the role of the immune system, what is HLA, what are the different types of grafts. So watch this video and hope it will help you, and thank you for watching this, and see you soon. Bye bye.